Every successful person got there by going through tough times. Success is a hard-ass teacher who likes to knock you around along that journey. You know, it takes real guts to not give up and keep going. We'll hear stories about failures and how these leaders flip the script to create success. I'm John Schultz. Join me and let's discover how success is never really overnight. He was born with a condition that limits his joints, every single one. His parents put him on a ski slope at 3 years old, and here he is today, a Paralympian. I can't wait for you to hear the story. Help me welcome Mikey O'Hearn. So Mikey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm stoked to be here.
You know, the John Schultz podcast, The Myth of Overnight Success. I would say you're the perfect guest.
Thank you.
You know, I do this out of passion. I love learning about other people's stories. You know, they help motivate me. Hopefully they help motivate the audience. And they show, you know, hard work, grit, all the stuff we're going to talk about today. It matters, right? And we never truly know how it's going to turn out, but we're on this path, hopefully, and we get ourselves there. So thank you for being a guest.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
All right, so, you know, I go all the way back when, you know, the guests are really young, because I feel a lot of the habits, what we're told, you know, with our parents, the support we have, really do mold us in ways that we don't really realize till we're older, and we apply some of these things. So, you know, with you had something that happened to you at a very early age, AMC, which you'll explain that to the audience.
Absolutely.
And so when that happened, you're so young, like, you know, how did it affect you? Do you even remember what it might have done for you and how your parents handled the whole situation? Yeah,
well, I think I can answer this question in so many layers. I was born with a rare congenital disorder. It's called Arthrogryposis Multiplex Congenita, or AMC. And essentially, it means my ankles are biologically and medically fused. So I wear leg braces bilaterally, both legs. And my arm is contracted at both the wrist and elbow. So growing up, I was navigating the ICU, you know, bilateral clubfoot surgeries, operations. And I mean, in my childhood, I did cumulatively like 13,000 hours of physical therapy logged. And so, you know, growing up with disability, it was physically trialing, of course. There was physical tribulations, but there was also this idea that I was never really exposed to being handicapped. I was never exposed to stealings or statistics. And so I definitely had to go through all these motions of physical liberation, physical therapy, and like work through muscle strengthening, conditioning. But I never really was hindered by this whole idea of being disabled, because my parents kind of not sheltered me, but they didn't expose me to like the harsh realities of what disability can dampen you from doing, what the preconceived stereotypes or conceived ideas around that might mean. And so it didn't really hinder me. I didn't see capacity, I just saw opportunity.
It's like almost, is it the magic of being a 3-year-old? Because, you know, as we get older, we start looking at things in a different way, right? Like we almost let them consume us in a way that when we're younger, we sort of let it like flow through us. At 3, like, you know, I can't imagine, I guess, you know, having the support of parents was important. And I guess like you were skiing before you walked.
Yes.
But like, what was your parents' attitude through this? And first of all, to let everybody know, I work with Mr. O'Hearn. So I love him. I got to tell you some of his traits. He is unbelievable. He is always upbeat. He's always there. The most loyal person, cares about whoever he's dealing with. So were those some of the traits that you felt? And I'm sure the rest of your family is the same way. I just happen to, you know, hang out with him a lot more. What do you think you grasped from that as a 3-year-old? Or was it as time went on, you saw that mattered more?
I think I mean, as a 3-year-old, I already kind of had that like fire to live. I didn't want to fear death. I didn't want to fear surgery. My biggest fear was not living. And so I wanted the trailblaze and I wanted the game change. And a lot of that was engraved by my parents. I wanted an opportunity to not just walk and not just be of the norm, but I wanted to be exceptional. And so I think my parents really engraved that in me. They introduced me to my core values of resilience, of tenacity, alchemy, pride. And they never exposed me to what it might mean growing up with a disability, even at the early age of 3. It was never that my walker, wheelchair, cast, leg braces would be a hinder, but it could be just a part of my story. I can be excellence, not despite a disability, but empowered by one. And it was really engraved by my parents.
It's amazing. So how do you even get to a ski mountain? I mean, you have this thing going on. I'm thinking like, what would I do with the first thing I would think? Oh, let's just go to a ski mountain, right? And how did that even come about?
Yeah, I mean, of course, navigating my childhood, my anatomy was completely different. And of course, so my childhood looked completely different. I was navigating surgeries and I was having bilateral clubfoot surgeries. I was in and out of walkers, wheelchairs, cast. But this break from the operating table, my parents would drive me up to Windham, New York and upstate New York. And all my breaks from surgeries would be spent on the mountain. It was that my mom had a connection. Her aunt had a house up there, and there was an adaptive program, and so it was the obvious choice. It was an opportunity for me to find some sort of anatomical freedom, which completely took off. But the other part of that was that I think skiing is inherently made for adaptive bodies. I couldn't walk, and I wasn't at the same level of mobility or agility of everyone else my age, even at the age of 3 or 4 or 5. But skiing inherently is designed for adaptive bodies. The stiffness of a ski boot was able to hold my body up independently before I could hold my own body up. And so it kind of just took off. I fell in love with the sport, and it became not this idea of anatomical freedom, something that I could reach, but it really became my anatomical freedom into fruition.
That's amazing. And I guess they did the research and figured out that this is something that was up in that area. Mm-hmm. So you would go, I guess, weekends, or would you go?
Every weekend. I mean, when I wasn't in and out of the hospital too.
So that was sort of your exciting thing that you would do for getting through what you had to go through.
Whenever I can get up there, we did. My dad drove me nearly every weekend. He'd work Monday through Friday, then we'd go up Saturday and Sunday night to ski with my team. Or, I mean, if I wasn't having surgery, of course, but as soon as I could go through rehab and go through physio and physical therapy, everything, as soon as I could get back on the mountain, my dad drove me up there.
So listen, at the end of the day, when we're younger, we have more resilience just by nature of not knowing what we don't want to be resilient of.
Yeah.
Right? Like we don't see all the world and what the world is and all that stuff. So how did you, as a young person, grab onto that? And like, was it your parents that you feel instilled that in you, or was this a natural ability that you had? Like, how do you, and like, obviously 3, 4, 5, 6, now that you're going on, did it gain momentum because you felt you had a goal and a purpose, or, and does it just show how powerful purpose really is in people's lives, regardless of what situation is? And maybe you can give some insights on that.
Yeah, well, I think it's the way we put it. When you're a child, you're a little bit naive to the harsh realities in the world. I didn't know because I wasn't exposed, but I also, of course, am a child. I don't understand the complexity of disability in today's day and age, or just, whenever. I don't understand what it means to navigate the world with leg braces as an adult or as a teenager, because I wasn't that yet. I understood what my little bubble was. And so I think early on, of course, it was from my parents or my siblings, my family, friends, but it really was a choice within myself to trailblaze and game change. I decided I wanted a life that was fruitful and flourish. I wanted my life to be fulfilled. And so it was definitely this idea of taking on something we talked about before we were rolling the cameras was micro goals. My first goal was to be able to walk independently. Then it was to walk without, a walker, or to get out of my wheelchair and get into rehabilitation. And so it was all these micro goals that eventually led to the actual pipeline of elite athletics and professional athletics. But before that, there was so much behind the scenes of getting my body to a state where I could thrive as an everyday person in the world, and I could get up and get outside and compete in sports.
And to let everybody know, he was told he couldn't.
Yes.
So, that's either stubborn or it's a will inside that comes out when you're challenged.
It's the human spirit, I
Yes.
think. I always go back to the human spirit.
Which I like that definition better, because I really believe we all have it.
100%.
You know, and unfortunately, you know, I go through a lot of things that I think is bad. And then I'm always after saying, and not that you want anything bad to happen, that shaped my life, and that bad thing was the best thing that ever happened to me. And
Yes.
I'm old enough now, you're much younger than me, but I'm old enough now to actually see how powerful that is. And that, you know, when you think something is in your way, it's really just your mindset. So you can either have an open mindset to maybe there is a way around it, or you could just say, quit, and that's the end. But what's so unbelievable, amazing about your story is how young it was, and just the support system you have. But you still had to do it, even though you're in your bubble. You know, I know sometimes you wake up, you don't want to go work out. I mean, you had to have this intensity. All right, so now let's take it to age 10. All right, you went through this adaptive school, which thank God they found something so terrific for you. All right, so now you're getting a little older, and you're starting to understand like what the real deal is, maybe more than you were when you were young. What happened then? Well, like, what gave you now the second wind to keep going in that time period?
Yeah, I think it was just a mindset that I really picked up on, was always, you know, either choosing or turning adversity into ambition. It's a common theme in my life, something I talk about on podcasts, motivational speaking with sponsors and partnerships. It was resilience over resignation, ambition over adversity, and something that you really have to choose every day, for something I had to choose long term, and something not only that I had to choose to meet goals, but to live a life that was be flourish and be fulfilled with my physical disability. I didn't want to fall into statistics or fall into what my diagnosis could define me to be. It was breaking ceilings, shattering statistics. And so it really was a choice. Even from the age of 3 to the age of 10, it was, I want to not only go skiing and have that anatomical freedom, but I want to be excellent. I want to be exceptional. And so it's a mindset. And
when does okay, so you're 10, and like, to me, this is the greatest outlet for you, because it gives you all the different things that makes you today. But like, when does it kick into competition and like, I want to just be more than this is something that keeps me going and keeps me motivated and allows me to feel a sense of freedom, right? That maybe you didn't feel. Like, when does that kick in?
100%. Well, when I started skiing, of course, I was 2 or 3 years old, and I was being tethered down the mountain by a bunch of volunteers, and the boots were holding me up because they were so stiff. And there was this woman, Kim Sievers, who's, I think, a 2 or 3 time Paralympian. She was a guide for a visually impaired athlete. And she told my parents when I was just 3 or maybe 4 that eventually, because of my reaction to skiing, I would eventually move out west and do this full time. So I think it was kind of always in my heart, just that everyone else kind of saw in me before I saw in my own self. And so it was before I was 10. I think skiing really changed the landscape of my whole life. It was that anatomical freedom. It was something that just naturally brought such a sense of purpose to me, and it gifted me kind of like a constant smile. It was freedom before I knew what freedom was.
It's amazing. So, okay, so now you have to make a decision, right? Like, if you want to go to the next level, you're moving somewhere. Now, how was that decision in your mind? Here you have the most supportive family, parents, you know, you're still so young. How do you make a decision to leave that? When, you know, in theory, if you have your little, you know, we all live in these little safe zones for ourselves. What gave you the feeling that you could actually achieve doing that?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely a hyper independent person. I trailblaze, game change my own life. I am all about my own like autonomy, I guess. I really just...
Is that a family trait, or is that something that happened to you during this process of what you went through?
I would say it's a kind of a mix of, it's definitely a combination of family trait, but it's definitely hyper to me. It's something that I take so much pride in, is the life that I've really shared and created for myself, that I've really taken kind of life's full control and made so much of it. And so it was Definitely, of course, a combination from my parents, but it really was just me deciding that my life is going to be defined and created by me. And I want to shape it. I want it to be filled with, repertoire and witticisms and adventure and fun, and mostly excellence. I wanted to root everything in legacy, representation, and excellence. And so,
It's amazing.
thank you. And so, I mean, at that age, though, you're so dependent, and especially navigating physical disability at that point for me, such kind of a severe physical disability, I was so dependent. And so I relied on my parents, I relied on my siblings. I needed help navigating physical therapy and getting into these walkers, wheelchairs, and casts. And so eventually, once I built up enough muscle strength and gone through enough conditioning, I was able to kind of grow into my own physical, again, anatomical freedom. I was able to make these decisions for myself that physically would be best for me. So I would have an outlet of a mobility and agility. And so going into high school, I had an opportunity to transition out west on these different breaks or hiatuses away from school and go train with a team. And so it's kind of the obvious decision. It gave me a lot of independence. It was
So how do you even do that? How do you just go train with the team?
Yeah, well,
do you have to go try out? Do you have to
Yeah, I'm on the National Ability Center's high performance team out of Park City, Utah. And so of course you have to be a high performing athlete. You have to, be a swift, sharp, aerodynamic skier to a certain level. To make the team, there aren't a criteria, but you have to be high performing. And so eventually I made the team. I worked a lot of training days, exerted so much effort to make that level of sport. And then that was kind of my intro from joining the team or signing up for the team into kind of the Federation of Ski and Snowboard, the governing body of para-alpine skiing. And that's kind of where my career really started in a professional level.
So let's, because again, myth of overnight. How many times were you ready to quit? What brought you back? How many failures did you go through?
Yeah.
Tell everyone that, because your story's so amazing, everyone can think, oh, well, it just went nice and fluid all the way to the top. But, and you had challenges the whole way, but, give the audience a little feeling of how difficult, it was to go through what you went through.
Yeah, well, honestly, the biggest testimony is that winners lose more than losers ever lose. And it's the truth. Winners constantly lose. And what I was just saying is that you don't see consistency until change occurs. And so I exerted all my effort. I showed up every single day, every day, training on hill. And then, of course, in the gym and doing yoga, anything targeted towards my physical disability. Yoga is really kind of beneficial for that. And so I exerted all my efforts. I was counting my nutrients. I was doing everything. You don't see that consistency until change occurs. So just in the past 2 years, I had this serious breakthrough on the Paralympic circuit. And it really grew into this swift, sharp, aerodynamic contender rather than a competitor. And it really took off. I was able to qualify for World Cups and World Championships, become a top 5 nationally ranked athlete, of course, be named to Team USA and make the Paralympics. But it didn't just come out of nowhere. It took all my effort, and there were so many times where I was ready to quit. I grew up skiing, and not at the level that I have been in the past 2 years, not, on the podium or as a contender, like I said. But, throughout high school, I raced a little bit. I would travel out to Utah and then come back here for school and travel back out to Utah. And I met this person, Emily Walker, who was my best friend in high school. And the absolute most vibrant person you would ever meet. And unfortunately, she passed away when I went off to college, in her sophomore year of college, my freshman year. And so, of course, it really brought a lot of turmoil into my life. Took a lot of time to mourn and grieve, and I impulsively quit ski racing for a really long time.
How long?
For 3 years. Which
you did?
I did. I took 3 years off throughout college. Which after she passed away, I impulsively left the skiing world, left the whole ski racing community, and kind of I needed time and space to mourn and grieve. And eventually I returned to sport with a refound purpose. And in Emily's name and in her honor, I was able to kind of ignite that, again, adversity into ambition and a race for her. But for a long time, I did quit the sport because I resented the sport because I felt like I couldn't mourn and grieve while competing.
Really? Interesting. So, and before then, how many what competitive races were you in up until that point?
Yeah.
Like, what level were you prior to this happening?
At that level, I was kind of renowned as an up-and-coming athlete. At that point,
Were you in different like competitions or?
yeah, I was in para-alpine ski national championships, and I would go over U.S. and Canadian national championships. I was in local Paralympic qualifying event, the Huntsman Cup in Park City. I was competing in similar races that I have in the past 2 years, just not the level I'm skiing at now.
Okay.
I was definitely, getting close to last place, if not last place. And I was not a contender. I was barely a competitor, honestly, at that point.
So what, and I want to get back to Emily in a minute, but why? Why do you feel now looking back, you only got to such a level, because you were doing it for a long time, right? What are some of the things that you think you learned from not skiing for 3 years?
It was my work ethic, honestly. At that point, I was a teenager and I did not have a sense of self. I did not know who I was fully. I was not living unapologetically. And I needed to grow into my full sense of self. I needed to find the full version of me. And so my work ethic really established at the same time as that. And once I really found who I am, found my full confidence, found my full personality, my sense of humor, everything, I was able to live a lot more organically and happily. And therefore, that kind of transpired into my work ethic. I was able to put everything into this, show up every single day, not just for competitions, but for training. So, I mean, competitions is where the results happen, but training is how results happen.
It's the only way.
It's the only way.
I mean, even like in, sports that you do as hobbies. I mean, golf or tennis or soccer, anything that you play, people don't realize the preparation and the hours and the work. And just the defeatist feeling you could feel. So, all right. So unfortunately, this is very sad. 3 years. So like you said, you did all these things to mourn and grieve. What brought you back? Like the moment was that, because I always find in life, we go through these things, and I'm going to ask you this question as well. Like there's these mentors that show up. It could be our family, it could be people you work with, it could be people in organizations that you're involved in. And I always say they come and they tap you and they make you feel that you can again, or to start doing something new that you never thought you could.
Yeah.
Who in your life was that at this point in time, right? It sounds like your parents.
They were huge. They definitely were huge. And there's so many sources of mentorship and role modelship for me growing up. And for me at this level of sport, sure, I still look up to so many people. I try to adopt values from people I find to be really wise, of course, to this day. And at that point, it's inherently Emily Walker still. She was kind of my guiding light. I left the sport so impulsively right after national championships in 2021. And I knew that it was impulsive. It was too quick. And so when I was graduating college, I had this moment with myself, and I mean with Emily too, in the idea and thought of her, that I'm going to return to the sport. I'm going to do this in her name. And it was the biggest fuel.
Mr. Independent, here we go. I love this. Because like, listen, I always, personally I always feel like someone has to help me. It's like Jerry Maguire, help me help you. Like I always need that person. And you're unbelievably independent. So this was, what, were you just sitting quietly? Were you meditating?
I honestly was pretty much that. I was sitting with myself. I was sitting in my own introspection, my own thoughts. And I was, this is something I've always wanted to be. I've always wanted to have that status of Paralympian. And now I have a refound purpose where nothing can stop me. I'm going to do this for who mattered for me the most in this lifetime was Emily. And I'm going to do this for her and for myself. And so much, not just for her, but for myself too, because this is everything I've ever wanted to be.
So good. It just proves, and I see this in my life, when it's not about you, the pressure comes off to a place where you can actually be the real you.
100%.
I find that most in things that I do that charitably, or just things that I do, mentoring and helping someone that I want no result, I want nothing monetary. This podcast for me was that. I don't want anything from it except to meet people like you. And because of that, I walk out in a happy energy every time I finish one. And when I launch one, I'm even more happy because I'm like, wow, I actually put a product together that like maybe one person could help their life.
It'll resonate with them. And that's the biggest goal is, of course, I want my results matter so much from start to finish in the mountain. But what I really want to do is I want to amplify representation. I want to like extend excellence. I want to kind of root everything again in legacy, representation, and excellence. I want to inspire the next generation to see themselves. If there's a kid out there with leg braces or an impaired right arm, I want them to know that the landscape does exist for us, that we can take up space and be vocal and really trailblaze again and game change. I want it not just to be about myself, but be about inspiring more.
Which I think it drives us, right? And no matter what that is, it's amazing. All right, so now this unfortunate thing happens, and you gear up internally, which I love. That's grit, right?
Totally,
that's resilience.
Totally.
And did you ski at all during that 3 years?
I did, just with friends.
Just sort of like a relaxing thing.
Recreational.
All right, so now it's like game on, right? Like you're in this new moment. What changed in how you looked at it? The regimen you went through to get you all the way to this Huntsman's Cup that you won, right? You finally,
yes,
or you made that race, and then all the way to where a Paralympian. That's like amazing.
Thank you.
Like I remember like with your father, and I was watching it in the pictures. It's so inspirational.
Thank you.
So talk to us about that. And was it a gear change?
Yeah, one big thing that shifted my whole landscape, honestly, was college. Is that I went into college, and of course my friend Emily passed away, and I mean it ruined me for a while, but it wasn't mutually exclusive to say that I wasn't also living a phenomenal life the rest of my college experience. I was really able to be more than just an athlete, but I was able to kind of be a personality, find my people in the world, and able to just kind of fill my life with repertoire and witticisms and humor and my people. And so I was able to be more than just an athlete, or be more than just kind of the token disabled person in the room, or just be the inspiration inherently. I was able to really just be myself and connect with people. And so I think college changed the whole landscape of my life. And so returning to sport.
But how did you go about it? Because listen, I mean, I know like people are always feeling they're not enough anyway. Like it's just it's a unfortunate human condition, right?
Yeah.
Like we're always trying to be like whenever we get into situations, we're always like, are we enough? How did you work that mindset to feel that you are and you're more than that?
Well, I no longer saw my value in whether I was a Paralympian or not. I no longer saw it whether I was an exceptional athlete or not.
So what did you say?
I saw that my friends loved me. I mean, that my character spoke of my personality. My personality was to love and be loved by people. It was a human, the interpersonal relations that mattered so much more profoundly. It's the way I connected with people, the sociability side of things, that really revealed my value to me rather than my accolades or my accomplishments. I didn't need titles. I didn't need to be decorated. I just needed a life that was well lived.
There's that song, "All We Need Is Love."
That's it. Exactly.
You're the epitome for marketing that song.
It's exactly that.
Like at the end of the day, I think our whole lives are trying to find that, and it comes in different levels depending on where you are in your life. Family.
100%.
As you grow, your tree grows, right? So college really did that for you. That's amazing.
It really did.
And I always say, college, you learn how to be a person as well as learn or try to learn what you think you want to do in the world. So I think it's a training that's amazing if it's done right.
And I think taking time away from skiing really showed me like
how much you want it,
how much I need it, how much I want it in my life.
It's like you never know until something's gone.
Exactly.
What you really love. So that's amazing.
But it was the perfect break. Of course it was impulsive, but it's something I really needed to heal myself and mend my relationship with grief, but also with skiing. I needed time away to really find my true self and grow into my sense of self. I was at such kind of a vulnerable age of, teenager into my 20s, really finding who I am, that the time away, really, I was able to find myself fully. So when I returned to sport.
Well, it's a big commitment. You lose a lot of the things that you could do at college. I mean, I know people that go to college, but they're in these sports programs and their lives are like completely half hour by half hour.
Totally.
They don't really have a lot of time, and it's a big business too, actually.
Yeah.
All right, so we're here. You made it. You got the commitment. You made that level. how did you get on this Paralympian team?
Yeah.
What was the process? I know it was a goal. And how did it evolve?
Of course, it was my biggest aspiration from 3 on. It was something I always valued and always wanted to be. My mentors growing up were Paralympians. That's who I looked up to. But there was no one ever really looked like me. Of course, with disability, it's so wide and far in between. You have every sort of disability, and no disability looks alike. But I wanted someone to look like me. I wanted to have someone that moved and navigated the world like I did. And I realized kind of later in life that I could be that person. I didn't need to look up to someone in that role. I could be that for someone else up to.
Wow.
To. And so I graduated college, and I returned to sport with this refound purpose. And I was ready to put in all the work, exert everything. And so, I joined the National Ability Center team again, the high performance team in Park City.
Now, do you have to have what gets you back on that team? Because
just skiing at a certain level.
So it's all this. There's obviously times, I guess. Okay.
Joining a team, there is no criteria for the National Ability Center. It's a high performance team. It's where Team USA and the national team pulls their athletes from.
So the recruiting from this.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Exactly. I got at one point in time, I got recruited. From the National Ability Center. So you do get recruited, or you get kind of sought out, but you don't have to meet a criteria to make that team. And so I rejoined the team, and I showed up every single day, race simulation, training, gates, everything. I was ready to win these races, and I showed up with a positive mindset, physical, just readiness and mental readiness, and I was able to execute. There's so much precision. There's so many micro inefficiencies that make you either a competitor or a contender, and I was fully mentally prepared, therefore physically prepared. And so, I re-entered the sport, started competing, started from ground zero, one of the worst ranked athletes because I had left all this time with no frozen points or no points on the board. And I slowly climbed my way back up. I went from, last to middle, and then middle to contender, and contender to the podium. And so in the past year or so, I really honed in on training, just aggressively. It was all I lived, breathed, slept, and ate. And so I was able to grow into, again, this swift, sharp, aerodynamic skier. And I went from middle of the pack to contender. I was on the podiums. I was just off first place in some of these races. And I was able to, break the threshold for World Cups and World Championships and qualify for those. And then eventually, in a qualifying event, I went from number 6 in the nation to number 5 in the nation in one of the tech events, and therefore the top 5.
And a tech event being a race style.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
So the giant slalom was your sort of.
That was what I was kind of focusing in on.
Got it.
And I was able to go from number 6 in the country to number 5 in the country, and that opened up my Paralympic spot, my start right. And I compete in all 5 disciplines, and I really do phenomenally and kind of specialize in Super G and more speed oriented, just being a little bit more swifter, sharper, aerodynamic.
And how fast are you coming down the mountain?
It definitely depends on the discipline. I would say, slalom, of course, is a slower discipline. Something like downhill, which is all speed, is way faster. But everything's between 40 to 65 miles per hour. Technical's a lot slower, but you go 65, 70 in speed events.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's really
intense.
Fun, right? But yeah, so I just kind of honed in on those. That's where I specialize. Unfortunately, I tore my ACL right before the games, and so I didn't have much of a season this past year.
You and who? Lindsey Vonn?
Me and Lindsey Vonn.
What? How does that happen?
I know.
2 Americans.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had the best result of my whole ski racing career just a few months earlier, and
she tried to race. Unfortunately, she had. And then, so how do you even get your mindset prepared to go 70 miles an hour?
Yeah.
With a torn ACL and all the other things you have to think about.
Well, it was a crazy year for me because just a few months before I had the best results of my racing career, I went to the finish line. I was just off the leader, and at that point I qualified for World Cups and World Championships, and I really dominated that race, and that was the moment, which I didn't know then, where I qualified for the games, and that's where I became top 5 in the nation.
Got it.
And so the following race series, I went through the finish line. Phenomenal result again. It was a great result for me. I think I got 4th place in that race. And unfortunately, I crossed through the finish line and heard a loud pop in my knee and tore my ACL just weeks before the games. And so I did a full return to snow protocol, day in, day out physical therapy, and started from the foundations of skiing up to competitive form. I was never able to return to my baseline of skiing before the games. You know, I need surgery to get to that level again, but I was able to get competitive form and build up the courage and confidence to ski without lateral control, which is
no lateral control.
I mean, your ACL controls that, so it's pretty unheard of. And I mean, Lindsey Vonn did it, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I didn't come this far to only come this far. And so it's really a moment for me. I'm going to go through the start. I'm going to go through the finish line, and I'm going to do everything in my power just to the best I can
just to finish.
That moment. Yeah.
So what was it? Give everybody the feeling. You're in this gate.
Oh my gosh.
The world is watching.
Yeah.
This is not like some little, go to a high school and you got some people coming to watch it. Maybe it's live stream on Facebook. This is gigantic, right? What did you feel like? Like knowing that you couldn't even be everything that you need to be?
It was completely surreal. When I set off for ski racing, were
you like losing your mind?
I was petrified. I was petrified, and I don't get scared. Like I really don't.
So was that the first time you were scared?
I think maybe. Honestly, I don't get scared. I don't believe in fear. Like I said, I think it hinders.
You don't believe in fear?
No, because
that's a belief system. I like that.
Yeah, why be fearful, scared of death when that's going to hinder you from living? Like the biggest thing I fear is fear. It's like why fear life?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, right. And so I was scared though. I mean, it was the worst conditions I've ever seen on a race day.
Wasn't it like just a sheet of ice too? Because it was like cold and warm, or
it rained the night before and then it froze.
Yeah, then it froze.
And so it was, sheets and layers of ice. I mean, you want ice because you want to be able to carve, but then you go through the first layer of ice and you can't carve because everything else is ice. So I was petrified. I mean, really petrified. And the camera swings in your face and you can hear, everyone down in the arena just like screaming and applauding, and I was like, the whole world's watching. This is insane.
I don't know how, how did you get your brain to be that compartmentalized to not think that you were injured?
Yeah.
Like knowing that you're in this major event, like how do you do that?
I think it was just a celebration. I mean, I had so much to be proud of at that moment.
So you changed the meaning?
I changed the meaning. It was, last place in the Olympics, last place in the Paralympics is last place of the best people who made it in the whole world. I mean, if I'm the worst of the best, I'm still the best. Like, yeah. I've made it to the games. I have so much to celebrate, so much to be proud of, the accolades, the accomplishments, and just the pride in myself of how meaningful this is. And so it's definitely a shift in my mindset, is that I'm going to do the best I absolutely can do, and it's all I can do right now. I control my controllables, and I don't need to worry about the rest.
Wow. So gratitude. So just getting up there and saying, I'm here, and what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah.
And you got through it. Like, you actually finished the race.
I did finish the race.
So, incredible. So what was it like when you got down there? I'm sure you saw your family. Like, is it set up where your family's sort of hanging out with signs?
Yeah, they had big cardboard cutouts of my face.
Oh, they did?
They did, yeah, in the stands. And I don't know who's seen the clip, but it's out there, of course, on NBC and Peacock. And when I go to the finish line, I threw my hands up, and I was celebrating immediately. I had the biggest smile I've ever seen myself smile. I was over the moon. Head over leg braces is what I say. Like, I was just stoked. I was so proud. And both runs, because a race consists of 2 runs back to back. And so each run, I was ecstatic. I was so excited. I found my family, and it was a huge milestone, a moment for me.
And how was meeting all the people that on your team, people from all over the world? Like, how cool was that?
Oh, it was phenomenal. I mean, I got to go
the whole village,
there.
Right?
The village was insane, and my teammates are amazing. I knew nearly all my teammates going into the games, since we trained together, or we see each other at other domestic and international races. And so over there, I went over there with one of my best friends, Haley, which was phenomenal. We both got to make the games together this year.
Oh, that's great.
And so I shared the whole experience with her, but I also grew really close with a bunch of my teammates and was able to,
It's a bond.
It's a bond. You share
forever.
For life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially at that level of Paralympics, is that we've all truly, again, I've turned this adversity into ambition.
100%.
There's all these language barriers.
It's the model of that, if you want my opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
it
beyond.
is. And there's so many language barriers and cultural differences. There's so many countries represented. But there was just like shared experiences that we've all overcome everything to be here and to make this moment. Is that like, we may not speak the same language, but where I overcame my leg bracing sense, someone else overcame their loss of vision. And so we had that. It was so human. We were so in touch and in tune with each other's lives and what we've done, what we've trailblazed, that we were able to connect so deeply.
All right, so I have a question for you. I know a lot of people that, get to this pinnacle. Now, you got to a pinnacle at a very young age that most people don't get to. It really only happens in sports and sometimes entertainment and, I guess like AI, it's happening right now. So in theory, it does happen in more things than I thought. So you get to a pinnacle, and then everything is about that. Like your whole self identity becomes what you think this pinnacle is. At such a what happens now? That how do you think through the next and what that actually means, and what did you learn by being at the pinnacle, and what actually does that mean, and how would you tell people that are thriving to be at that level in anything, what they should think about once they get there?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's my proudest milestone, proudest moment was being a Team USA athlete, becoming a Paralympian. It's the most like revelating to my heart, my journey. That's what means the most to me. I would say that you have to always alchemize, turn negatives into positives, and execute and fight for a life well lived. It's about fostering a life that's flourished, that speaks to you and aligns with your truth. And so that's what I was always set to do. I always wanted to be fulfilled. I wanted my life to be something that I was really, really proud of and stoked with. And so that's what I would say to anyone.
But is it the next game? So you did it.
I did it.
And you did it injured. So for you, is it like the next games, or is it like, now what else can I use as superpower?
Yeah.
Because in theory, you developed a superpower of resilience, grit, all the things that you said the four things that you...
grit, tenacity, alchemy, and pride.
Yeah, so do you apply it to now do it again, or do you try to do that in something else in the world?
100%. My goal when I returned to competing was the 2030 games. I was really, really grateful and proud to have so much be executed in the past 2 years to make this year's games. But my goal was 2030. And so once I return to sport after doing some rehab on my knee after post-surgery, I'll return to sport and keep training every day, go to World Cups, World Championships. The Paralympics was my debut at this level, so I will compete in World Championships, the World Cup level, and then make the 2030 games and keep going with it. At the same time, what extends beyond my athletic career is my career in motivational speaking. I've been really positioned well and super grateful for my opportunities before the games, throughout the games, and post games. So I've done a lot of media coverage work. I've been interviewed by just like a plethora of media outlets, but I've also been booked out. But I've done a bunch of media coverage post games, before the games, and after the games. And then I was booked by Gatorade. I was booked by Goldman Sachs, just sharing my story, speaking on the truth of alchemizing your life, turning adversity into ambition, resilience over resignation. So just keep amplifying my story, keep sharing it with generations to root everything in representation, legacy, and excellence.
So does that feeling feel the same as going down the mountain?
It does. It does.
I think what I think talking about the story almost gets you as juiced.
It really does.
Because that you never can sit back and look at the story until after anyway.
Yeah.
It's just the inspiration you can give people.
It really, and it means so much to me. I care so much, of course, for the results from start to finish, but I care so much more about what this means for everyone else listening, everyone else that resonates with my story. I really want this to be a turning point in people's lives, that they can and they should, at least try and believe in themselves. Because, I was told, or my parents were told, that my diagnosis would hold limitations, that there would be ceilings and there would be statistics against me. But I rose above those ceilings and I shattered those statistics. And that there's every opportunity and chance to take control of your own life, to trailblaze again, and game change again. I always go back to those because I really, really think it's so powerful to really just shift your landscape of opportunity and capacity. You have to believe in your dreams for them to ever become a reality.
So to end this, because I love how you just ended the statement on how do you get through those things that you think you shouldn't be, first of all, by people telling you, and things that maybe internally feel. So would you, if you could give it one word to that shattered the misnomer of all that, what would the one word be?
Oh, wow. This is a big word, but I would say multidimensional.
Okay, so explain that.
Yeah, I don't think anything's one-dimensional. There's so much more to this than myself. It's not just, again, results down the mountain. It's about amplifying the next generation, uplifting the kids with physical disabilities. It's not just about me, but about everyone who got me here. It's also about not just, the accolades and being a decorated athlete. It is about the celebration and the pride of it all. It's worth celebrating. So there's so many dimensions to all this, and they're all worth of being noted.
I love that. I'm going to make multidimensional one word instead of two words, because that's seriously what it should be. It's a really cool way to look at it. It's like, because again, you could say belief, I believe. You could say all grit, I have, but you made it not about you, which is why you're you.
Thank you.
Which is why you're going to keep becoming more and more of a force of nature, which you already are, but even more 10x level. I can't wait to watch as this keeps continuing. I want to thank you for being such an amazing guest, and people are going to love this. This is going to be a podcast people are going to really love. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. It really is an honor and a privilege. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm super stoked.
If you like this podcast or were inspired by this podcast as much as I was, please like, follow, and subscribe.